Americans may not be as plugged into electric vehicles like lawmakers first thought. A new Gallup poll shows more Americans are less interested in buying an EV than last year. Nearly half saying they would not buy an electric vehicle compared to the 41% from the year prior. In an effort to reduce U.S. emissions, the Biden administration set some new rules aiming for more than 50% of new cars being electric vehicle by 2030. But because of this dip in popularity, production may not meet the federal government's goals. And that's hurting automakers. For example, Ford's EV business lost $4.7 billion in 2023. Now it's cutting jobs as a result and waiting to make certain electric cars. And car dealers say the number one question for many EV buyers is, where can I charge? This is an image from the Department of Energy showing all the locations to stop and charge, but different EVs charge at a variety of speeds, and you might need a certain location. Automotive industry expert Glenn Lundy is with us. Glenn, thanks for being here. The inconvenience factor seems to be overwhelming here, just not worth the trouble for more Americans.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it in comparison to what we're used to, right? There's a gas station on every corner of every city all across the United States and all around the world. So we're used to the convenience of being able to pull up 3 miles, 5 miles, maybe 7 miles in between, whereas these EV stations are spread out sporadically kind of all over the place. So the infrastructure is just not there to build enough confidence in the consumer.
Not only do you have to find a place to charge, then you have to wait for it to charge. So if you're on a road trip, for example, there's that. Another downside is the cost. I mean, EVs are more expensive. How might all of this impact the costs, and when might it come down?
Yeah, I think, if we look at history is, it's interesting, right? When cell phones first came out in the 80s, a cell phone was like $4,000, and everyone thought there's no way we're ever going to make this a mainstream thing. It's the same in the EVs with the batteries. Everything's really expensive at this point. But if you actually look, they've shown that these ion batteries, the cost per kilowatt hour has gone down tremendously in the next 10 years, or in the past 10 years. I think it'll continue to go down. I just think they're trying to rush this way too fast. The technology is amazing, but the infrastructure's not there yet, and the cost is still out of control.
So what are we seeing with some of the big automakers? So you've got Ford, General Motors, Mercedes-Benz. How are they responding to the lack of interest, this dip in popularity?
Well, I think it's actually really interesting. Politically, we've been kind of pushing in a certain direction, and the manufacturers have been trying to follow suit. But the people, right? We, the people of the United States of America, the people are speaking up and saying, hey, we don't care how hard you push until the infrastructure's there, and until my daughter, who's 17 years old, doesn't have to sit in a random parking lot for 3 hours while her car charges. Until we fix that, we're just not going to do it. So the manufacturers are making some smart moves. They're responding to the consumer versus just trying to take orders from political views or somewhere from the top.
How is Tesla reacting? I mean, right, they're the leader in all of this, really the first ones to do it. Have we seen them pivot at all as they try to take on the perceptions about EVs?
Yeah, I think Tesla's a very unique model for multiple reasons. So Tesla really understands their consumer, their target avatar. So there are Tesla fans all over the United States that'll do absolutely anything to get their hands on one of these vehicles. Ford, General Motors, all these other brands, they're more of the common, everyday, every consumer type brand. So Tesla's doing some amazing things. They're selling more cars now than they ever before. And we have noticed that they're having to reduce the cost on a lot of their vehicles. Elon said they would never do any of that, but we are seeing discounts over in the Tesla world to make them more affordable. But I think it's Tesla's more of a niche, whereas Ford and these other guys are mainstream.
What would you say, Glenn, are the biggest or is the biggest misconception about electric vehicles right now?
I think there's two. I think one misconception is that it's actually more environmentally friendly. We're starting to learn more and more that that is not the case. The production of these batteries, the disposal or lack of disposal of these batteries is harming harming the globe just as much as the smog or some of these other things that are released from gas. So I think that's one big misconception. I think the second misconception is people are starting to think this isn't going to happen. And the reality is it will happen. I just think it's a matter of time Technology has to advance, infrastructure has to get better. There will be an EV future, but it's not anytime soon.
Yeah, right. It's not like flipping a switch, and the political
No.
climate will have an impact on how quickly it gets done as well. Been fun to chat with you, Glenn Lundy. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.